Hello everyone, this is a quick video showing you how to create workshop add-ons for Half-Life cross-product multiplayer using our suite of tools that we've published onto Steam and on GitHub with the Aura SDK. So this video is essentially an audible and visual version of this guide on our wiki here. So Harbinger is the tool that we've created that allows people to create add-ons for the Aura workshop system. Now, as a little preface, you should know the fundamentals of Half-Life 1 modding concepts. Essentially, add-ons for XAMPP HLMP are set up like any other Half-Life mod, except you don't use a liblist.gam file. Additionally, the only files that you pretty much cannot mount whatsoever are server and client DLLs, and this is because we can't mount them and switch them dynamically. So with that said, you should have access to this in your library as soon as you install Half-Life cross-product multiplayer on Steam. So if you come up here and you turn on tools, you'll see the Half-Life cross-product Aura SDK here. Clicking launch will open the README, but what you want to do here is right-click, go to manage, and then browse local files. So here we are then in the Aura SDK, or at least this is our development copy of it. So everything you'll want is in here in the tools folder. As you can see, we've got Half-Life BSP texture tools here, we got Harbinger, and we got Spectra. Harbinger and Spectra are the ones that you're going to want to be using. So firstly, we've got Harbinger. You'll see there's a file that's just called Harbinger, and then there's an actual exe here. So this one is for Linux, so if you're on Linux, use that. Windows, use this here. So firstly, what you want to do, in case it's not there, you want to right-click, new text document, and name that steam_appid.txt. Then you want to open that in a text editor. And all you want to do here is write down 3416640. That's the app ID for Harbinger. So now that that's done, you need to actually prepare your content. Now the text guide describes it as follows, as to first create an add-on info document. So this is a little example you've got here. So as you can see, it's kind of just like a basic script. It sets your title, author, description, and of course you've got the Boolean values for the tags here. These are essentially like checkboxes. So 0 equals off, 1 equals on, or true, false. So this is not actually the metadata that gets published onto Steam. This is actually the metadata that the local game add-on manager reads. You can filter your local add-ons that you're subscribed to once the game downloads them, and it reads these values. So of course, depending on what your add-on contains, you'll want to change these tags. So say you've got maps, you'll turn this on. Say you've got music in the media folder, you'll turn MP3 on. You've got custom sounds, turn that on. Same goes for HUD, map cycles, tracker scheme, resources, which is things like skyboxes and WAD files, localization, sprays, yada yada yada. And of course CTF and DOM. So if you created CTF and DOM cache files, which we will be providing further documentation on in the future, you should turn those on as well. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to be using a map from the TWHL vault. So this is Damnation by Toodles, and it's got a CC BY NCSA license. So this was actually made for one of the competitions that TWHL hosted, and it looks pretty cool, so we're going to try this out. So as you can see, we've got the map's content here. There's a little readme. It's always good to read these. So we've got a WAD file. We've got a JPEG here, which presumably is the thumbnail. And then we've got an overview as well, which is pretty cool to see. And we've got what looks like some detailed textures here. So let's create the actual add-on layout. So if you go to your cross-product game files, so here is the folder that you'll want to be using. It's called xamhllmp_workshop. This is where your sort of local versions of your add-ons go. So let's create a new folder, and I'll just call it Damnation Map. So let's put our content into here then. So it looks like everything here goes in the maps folder. The WAD does not need to be added to the server. Brilliant. So I don't need this WAD after all. So we're just going to put this in the maps folder. So we got the BSP, overviews, BMP. Now another thing you should pay attention to is our actual naming scheme for our maps. So if I go to the actual game files here, we usually try to keep each map to one word. Sometimes we let it sort of extend out to 2 words like Lambda Bunker. But every word starts with a capital letter, and most of these maps are one-word names. So we got City, Bounce, Frenzy, Forsaken, Omen, Cloaca, Works. Basic stuff like that, really. So, say you're reposting someone else's map, or you're creating your own map, and it's got lots of underscores and version numbers in the map name. Realistically, you should try to keep it consistent with our naming scheme, just so that it blends in to the map list a little bit better. So for example, I'm just going to rename this to Damnation. And therefore, I'll have to change the overview names as well. The BMPs can stay the same. Okay, so now we need addon info.txt. So I'm just going to copy this template here. So I'm going to create a file called addon info.txt. Remember the capital A and the capital I there. So addon info. I'm just going to paste that template in. So, what is this called? Well, it's called Damnation. The author is Toodles. I can't believe I forgot that. The description you should try to keep as short as possible. So let's see if we can get a little excerpt from here. I'll just write inspired by surface tension there. So let's do all of these tags then. So remember, 1 equals on or true, 0 equals off or false. So it's got maps, it's got resources from those detailed textures. So we got to turn off everything it doesn't have. So MP3, that needs to be 0. Sound, 0, yada yada yada. So now those tags are set up, now I need to create the thumbnail. So as per the guide, the thumbnail needs to be called thumb. You can't name it anything else, and it should be in PNG and in TGA. And that's where Spectra comes in. Spectra allows you to convert your PNG to TGA in case you haven't already exported your file to a TGA. And we mainly created this because, well, I created it because the only program I'm aware of on Windows that allows you to sort of export as TGA is Photoshop. Not everyone's going to want to download Photoshop or buy Photoshop, so we've just created this tool for you. So essentially, if you've already got a thumbnail, you can resize it to 640 by 360. So I'm going to open this in Photoshop myself. Okay, so here we are with the thumbnail that was included with the map. Now, of course, you can make your own thumbnail with something like Canva, GIMP, Paint.net, pretty much any graphic design software. It doesn't matter which one you use, as long as the dimensions of the image are 640 by 360. Now, this is in 1080p. So I'm going to change the canvas size here to 640 by 360. There we go. So now that's been resized. So I'm going to add some text to it as well. Generally, because it's a pretty small image, you should try to keep this sort of not as cluttered, that makes sense. So if it's a map, generally just a thumbnail of the map and maybe the name of it as well, which is what I'm going to add. So I'm just going to write into here, damnation. Make that a little bit bigger. Attach it to there. And there we go. So I'm going to export this as a PNG. So as you can see, we are in the damnation map folder here. And as aforementioned, we need to call it just thumb.png. And there we go. So now we need to bring this into Spectra to convert it into a TGA. That way it will actually show up in game, otherwise it will just look a bit weird. So I'm going to copy our thumb.png there. I'm going to bring it into the Spectra folder in the Aura SDK. So I'm going to paste it there. And let's open a terminal here. So if you just type Spectra in your command line there, you'll get a pretty easy usage case of it. So in that case, let's just do Spectra, thumb.png, and then thumb.tga. The TGA has to also be called just thumb, otherwise the game's not going to read it. So as you can see, that's converted it pretty much instantaneously. So you can close that now. And let's bring these back into here. And if you do have software that can open TGA natively, you can open it just to double check. So if I open it here, you'll see we've got the TGA here and it looks pretty good. So now it's time to actually publish this add-on to the workshop. So if you go back into here, into the Harbinger folder, let's open a terminal here. And of course, we've got a use case guide for it here as well. So this is a little example here. So I'm going to bring that over here. So like Spectra, if you just run Harbinger in your command line there, you'll get a pretty easy usage case. So the title, description, folder, preview tags, yada, yada, yada. So first you need to do the command before the positional parameters. So you have the option of either doing create or update. Well, we're creating a new add-on, so let's type create. So now let's set the title with the positional parameters. So all the arguments for the record just have to be in quotations. So title, let's call it damnation, and then dash dash desk, inspired by surface tension. Keep in mind, if you want to keep these short just for the initial upload, you absolutely can, because you can always update these later on Steam itself. It's only the thumbnail image you can't update on Steam itself. You can only attach further screenshots. So, folder. How are we going to type in the folder there? We're not going to just type in the whole path on our own. So what you can do is you can find the folder in your file explorer, just drag it into your terminal window. And then we need the preview image as well. So if you drag that again, and then just append, just append thumb.png there. So if you're updating, you would add ID here and then enter the ID there, whatever your ID may be. But because we're creating, it's just going to create a new ID for us. And visibility. Let's make it private. And now finally you need tags. So I'm going to add maps and resources. I'm just going to double check that they match the values in here. Maps and resources, yep. Enter. So now that's uploading to Steam. And if you look on Steam, you'll see it says that you're running the game. This is just because it's running the workshop uploader. So once that's done, so as per the text guide, if you go to your workshop content page, your add-on should be appearing there. There we go. So it took a few seconds, but here it is. So as you can see, we got the thumbnail here. It looks really nice. We've got the tags here. So if you want to do multiple tags, as you saw then in my command entry, you just separate them with a comma. You don't need a space, just a comma there. So we got the tags there. So yeah, this looks pretty nice. So if you want, you can delete your local copy so that doesn't conflict with the version you subscribe to. And people can subscribe to it and it will download right here. So once that's done with, let's open the game and see the add-on in action. So you should be able to see it downloading just in the top left there very briefly. That's when the game actually syncs and gathers your workshop info. So if you go into the workshop menu here, and if you scroll down a bit, there it is, there's the add-on. So there's the thumbnail, there's the title there, the description, and the author. So let's activate that add-on. Close that menu. And if you go into custom game, you can see there you got your map, Damnation. Let's just put on LAN server, it doesn't take a while to load. And here we are, we're in the map. Now, if you want to play this with friends via the Steam network, or you're hosting a dedicated server that doesn't have FastDL, you should create a collection of add-ons you're subscribed to on the Steam Workshop. So then people you're playing with can easily download all the add-ons you're subscribed to. So then when they're trying to join your server, they won't see our downloading map. It's going to take 7 minutes. But other than that, it's a pretty smooth process. And now, as you can see, we have the map loaded into the game here. So, just one last thing. If you're struggling to use the Aura SDK, or you're not quite following us somewhere, or you just need a bit of help or assistance, or you just have a question, you can either join our Discord, or you can come here to the Aura SDK section of the cross-product multiplayer Steam discussions, which is currently empty because the game is not out yet. So we hope you found this tutorial useful, and we hope to see you creating some really cool add-ons for the game.